Commander Nexlar stood at the observation deck of the stellar Voyager, his forearms crossed behind his back as he gazed at the blue marble suspended in the void before him. The third planet from this unremarkable yellow star had been just another assignment, another primitive world to catalog and study. How wrong he had been. "Commander, preliminary scans complete," announced Science Officer Rax N.A., her bioluminescent spots pulsing with excitement. "You might want to see this." Nexlar suppressed a sigh. In his 300 cycles of exploration, he'd seen everything from silicon-based life forms to sentient gas clouds. What could possibly be remarkable about these bipedal creatures? "Very well," he said, gliding across the deck to her station. "Show me what has you so worked up." The holographic display sprang to life, showing various human activities. Nexlar watched with growing confusion as the scenes played out. Humans building massive structures with primitive tools. Humans caring for completely unrelated species simply for companionship. Humans creating art that served no practical purpose. "Fascinating contradictions," Raxnay said, manipulating the display with her lower hands while taking notes with her upper ones. "They wage war over imaginary lines in the ground, yet they'll risk their lives to save complete strangers. They pollute their atmosphere, but they also create vast preserves to protect their world's biodiversity." Nexlar leaned closer, his compound eyes focusing on a particular scene, a human emergency responder rushing into a burning structure to save others. Their risk assessment protocols appear to be malfunctioning. This behavior defies logical survival instincts. "That's just it," Commander Raxnay's spots flashed with patterns of academic excitement. "They consistently override their survival instincts for abstract concepts. Honor, justice, love." She pronounced the alien words carefully. "They're the only species we've encountered that regularly sacrifices self-preservation for ideological reasons." The commander chittered thoughtfully, a habit from his younger days that he'd never quite broken. The display showed more scenes, humans launching primitive spacecraft, held together with what seemed like barely more than adhesives and hope, humans diving into dangerous waters to study marine life, humans jumping out of perfectly functional flying vehicles for something they called entertainment. "Pull up their technological progression timeline," he ordered. The display shifted, showing an accelerating curve of advancement that made Nexlar's antennae twitch involuntarily. This can't be accurate. No species progresses from atmospheric flight to space travel in less than a century. "The data is verified," Commander Raxna said. "They went from their first powered flight to landing on their moon in exactly 66 of their solar cycles. Their technological progression is exponential, and it's still accelerating." Nexlar felt a strange sensation in his thoracic cavity, something he would later recognize as apprehension. He watched as humans repeatedly did the impossible simply because someone said they couldn't. They turned their deadliest weapons into tools for energy production. They transformed diseases into cures. They made the toxic habitable and the impossible probable. "Recommendations for contact protocol?" he asked, already knowing he wouldn't like the answer. Raxnay's spots pulsed in patterns of concern. "Standard protocols may be insufficient, Commander. Their responses to new situations are highly unpredictable. They appear to have no consistent behavior patterns as a species. Some humans respond to threats with submission, others with aggressive resistance, and some." She paused, searching for the right words. "Some appear to find amusement in facing superior forces." Amusement? Nexlar's antennae twitched again. "In facing superior forces?" "Yes, Commander. They have numerous cultural narratives about small groups overcoming vastly superior opponents. They don't just tell these stories, they believe them, they internalize them. These narratives appear to fundamentally shape their responses to challenges." Nexlar turned back to the observation window, studying the seemingly peaceful blue world with new eyes. In all his cycles of exploration, he'd never encountered a species that worried him quite like this one. They were primitive, yes, but their primitiveness was deceptive. Like watching a spark in a fuel depot, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were witnessing something potentially catastrophic in its implications. "Update contact protocols," he finally said. "Maximum caution, no direct interaction without full council approval. and he turned all four of his eyes to his science officer, marked their status as Category 1. Raxnay's spots pulsed with shock. Category 1 was reserved for species that posed a potential existential threat to galactic civilization, not because of their current capabilities, but because of what they might become. Are you certain, Commander? The Council will demand extensive justification for such a classification. Look at their entertainment media, Officer Rax NA. Their most popular stories are about overcoming invading forces from other worlds. They dream about meeting us, and in those dreams they're already planning how to defeat us. They haven't even achieved reliable interplanetary travel. And they're already preparing for interstellar war. He gestured at the planet below. We're not looking at a primitive species, we're looking at a sleeping giant. And the galaxy help us all if we're careless enough to wake it. Despite Commander Nexlar's explicit orders for caution, the Galactic Science Council overruled his Category 1 classification. They cited insufficient evidence and dismissed his concerns as overly cautious. Their directive was clear: proceed with standard specimen collection protocols. This is a mistake, Nexlar said, watching the collection pod descend toward the small human settlement. We should be observing from a distance, not engaging directly. The Council's orders are clear, Commander Science Officer Rax NA replied, though her bioluminescent spots pulsed with shared concern. They want detailed biological data, and that requires direct sampling. The collection pod, disguised by stealth technology, hovered over a cluster of human dwellings in what their database identified as the northeastern United States. Their target was a small settlement called Pine Grove, selected specifically for its remote location and low population density. Security Officer Telvor, report Nexlar commanded. All systems nominal, Commander. Local communications show no signs of detection. Collection team is in position and awaiting final authorization. Nexlar's antennae twitched with unease. Proceed with collection protocol. Maximum caution, no direct contact. The collection team consisted of 3 of their most experienced field operators. They had performed this procedure on countless worlds, always without incident. Their orders were simple: collect DNA samples from various age groups, avoid detection, and return to the ship. Through the live feed, Nexlar watched as the team approached their first target location, a dwelling on the outskirts of the settlement. Their scans had detected 2 humans inside, an adult female and a juvenile. Target acquired, the team leader reported. Proceeding with molecular sedation field. The technology was supposed to be foolproof, a field that would render the subjects unconscious for exactly 3 minutes, allowing for quick, painless sample collection. It had worked flawlessly on thousands of species across the galaxy. But humans, as they would learn too late, were different. Sir Telvor's voice cracked with alarm. The juvenile subject is showing unexpected reactions to the sedation field. Nexlar rushed to the monitor. The young human female Amanda Brooks, according to their data, was convulsing violently. Her vital signs were spiking in patterns their systems couldn't even interpret. Abort, Nexlar commanded. Shut down the field immediately. But it was too late. By the time the field deactivated, the damage was done. Amanda's vital signs flatlined, her small body still on the floor of what they would later learn was her bedroom. Her mother, still unconscious from the sedation field, lay unaware just rooms away. No, Raxnay's spots had gone completely dark, a sign of extreme distress. This isn't possible. The field was calibrated correctly. We tested it. The collection team stood frozen, their training utterly useless in the face of this catastrophic failure. Through the feed, Nexlar could see the girl's room decorated with images of stars and planets, dreams of space now forever unfulfilled. Commander Security Officer Telvor's voice was barely a whisper. The adult is regaining consciousness. The mother's scream would haunt Nexlar for the rest of his life. It wasn't just a sound of grief, it was a sound of such primal anguish that it transcended species barriers. Every being on the bridge felt it in their core. Full retreat, Nexlar ordered. Get our people out of there now. The collection team scrambled back to their pod, but the mother's screams had roused the settlement. Lights were coming on in neighboring dwellings. Communication channels that had been quiet moments ago erupted with activity. As the pod reconnected with the ship, Nexlar was already calculating emergency departure protocols. But before he could give the order, Science Officer Rax NA spoke up. "Commander, you need to see this." The display showed a rapid cascade of human communications spreading across their planet. Somehow, despite their stealth technology, someone had captured images of the collection pod. The pictures were blurry, inconclusive by any reasonable standard, but that didn't matter. The humans were connecting the dots with frightening speed. "How are they disseminating information this quickly?" Telvor asked, monitoring the exponentially growing communications. "It's their global information network," Raxnay explained, her spots pulsing with rapid patterns of stress. "They're sharing the images, the story, everything. And Commander, they're not panicking, they're not fighting each other, they're organizing." Nexlar watched as human military vessels began moving with unexpected coordination. Scientific facilities around the planet lit up with activity, and most worryingly, their long-range sensors detected energy signatures suggesting weapon systems they hadn't known the humans possessed. "We need to contact the Council," Nexlar said, his voice heavy with the weight of what they'd done. "They need to understand what we've awakened." On the displays, Amanda Brooks' face was spreading across human communication channels. A young face full of dreams and potential now became a symbol. Humans across the planet were changing their social media images to her picture. World leaders were making statements. Military forces were mobilizing. Sir Telvor reported, his voice shaking. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from their lunar installations. They're not what our initial scans showed. They've been hiding their true capabilities." Nexlar looked one last time at the beautiful blue world that had just minutes ago seemed so primitive and harmless. In a few hours, the Council would dismiss his warnings again. In a few days, they would learn just how wrong they had been. In a few weeks, the galaxy would understand exactly what it meant to earn humanity's wrath. "Send an emergency transmission to the Council," he ordered. "Message begins: we have made a terrible mistake. The humans are not what we thought, and they're coming for us all." As the stellar Voyager prepared for emergency faster-than-light departure, Nexlar couldn't shake the image of Amanda's room with its star charts and planet models. In their arrogance, they had snuffed out a young life that had dreamed of the very stars they came from, and soon, very soon, they would learn the price of that mistake. 3 months after the Pine Grove incident, Commander Nexlar received the report that would confirm his worst fears. The humans hadn't fallen into chaos as the Council predicted. They hadn't turned on each other in panic. Instead, they had done something unprecedented in galactic history. "Report status," Nexlar commanded, addressing the holographic projection of Scout Leader Taz Ken. "Sir, the humans have achieved in weeks what should have taken decades," Taz Ken said, his normally steady voice trembling. "The lunar bases we detected? They were decoys? Their real military installations were hidden in deep craters shielded from our scans. But that's not the worst part." The Scout's image flickered as he transmitted visual data. The images showed massive shipyards appearing from within numerous asteroids. Construction facilities that had been completely cloaked from their previous observations. "They were ready for us," Nexlar realized, "even before we arrived." "Yes, Commander. Those plans for space warfare we found in their entertainment media? They weren't just stories, they were preparation. Every alien invasion movie, every science fiction novel, they were training their population for this moment." The next set of images made Nexlar's antennae go rigid. Earth's nations had unified under a single banner, a black flag bearing the image of a small human child reaching for the stars, with Amanda Brooks's birth and death dates beneath. "The humans call it Operation Starfall," Taz Ken continued. "Their military forces have been combined under a unified command structure. But the truly terrifying part is their technological advancement. Commander, they've reversed-engineered components from the collection pod we left behind." Nexlar felt his thoracic cavity constrict. How much did they recover? Enough. Their scientists had already theorized most of the principles behind our technology. They just needed confirmation that it was possible. That small piece of evidence was all they required to make the conceptual leap. The display showed human vessels under construction. They weren't elegant like galactic ships, they were brutally practical, built for war. The humans had taken their primitive nuclear weapons and transformed them into something new, something that made even veteran military analysts nervous. Their first fleet will be ready within days, Taz Ken reported. They're calling them the Amanda-class destroyers. Each one is named after a child who died young on Earth. The lead ship, the ASV Amanda Brooks. Nexlar watched the feeds showing Earth's transformation. Their cities had become production centers for advanced technology. Their children were being trained in xenobiology and advanced physics. Every human on the planet seemed to have found their role in this great mobilization. The Council still refuses to believe the threat, Nexlar said, more to himself than to the Scout. They think their technological advantage is insurmountable. Sir, there's more. We've detected transmissions suggesting the humans have discovered principles of physics our scientists haven't even theorized. They're calling it the Brooks Drive after the child we killed, Nexlar finished. Of course they named it after her. Everything they're doing is about her. The final images showed the launch ceremony for the first Amanda-class destroyer. The ship's hull bore the words "For all our children" in every human language. Amanda's mother, Catherine Brooks, stood at the podium, her face showing not grief but determination. People of Earth, her voice rang out across the global broadcast. They came in the night and took my child. They thought we were primitive, weak, divided. They thought we would break. Instead, we have become the thing they feared most: humanity united with a single purpose. The crowd's response was deafening, but it wasn't the chaotic noise the aliens had expected from humans. It was coordinated, purposeful. The sound of billions of humans working with one will. Commander Taz Ken's voice dropped to a near whisper. The humans have a saying in their military: no better friend, no worse enemy. I believe we're about to understand the second part of that phrase. Nexlar dismissed the hologram and turned to his command crew. Send a final warning to the Council. Tell them Operation Starfall isn't just a human military action, it's a promise. A promise written in the stars by a species that just proved it can advance centuries in mere months. A promise that begins: they killed one human child. Oh. He looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere out there humanity's vengeance was approaching. Not with the wild rage the Council expected, but with the cold, calculated fury of a species that had spent generations preparing for this moment. And Earth, he finished quietly, Earth will make us an example. The first sign that everything had changed came when the Galactic Council lost contact with their forward observation posts. Not through violence or destruction, the stations simply went dark, one by one, as if they had never existed. Commander Nexlar, now serving as strategic advisor to the Council after his warnings proved prophetic, watched the tactical display with growing dread. The humans weren't just attacking, they were rewriting the rules of space warfare. Another station has gone silent, reported Fleet Commander Ventax. No distress signal, no debris field, just gone. The Council chambers erupted in confused discussions. Their technology was supposed to be centuries ahead of humanity's capabilities, yet here they were, watching their defense network vanish into the void. Show me the pattern of silent stations, Nexlar commanded. The display lit up, showing the spread of darkened outposts. Most military analysts were focused on predicting the next target, but Nexlar saw something else. The pattern wasn't random, it was a message. The disabled stations, when connected, formed a crude drawing of a child reaching for the stars. They're not just defeating us, he announced to the chamber. They're sending a message. Every action they take references their lost child. This isn't war, it's a lesson. Before the Council could respond, the main display crackled to life. The face that appeared was one that every being in the galaxy now recognized: Catherine Brooks, mother of Amanda and newly appointed ambassador of Earth's United Defense Force. Greetings, Galactic Council. Her voice was calm, almost friendly. By now you've noticed that some of your stations have gone quiet. Don't worry, your personnel are unharmed. They're currently enjoying Earth's hospitality. Many of them have become quite fascinated by our culture, particularly our concepts of justice and consequence. The council leader, High Speaker Ralthon, rose to address her. Ambassador Brooks, surely we can resolve this situation diplomatically. The tragic incident with your offspring was... My daughter Catherine interrupted, her calm facade cracking slightly. Her name was Amanda. She had just turned 8. She could name every planet in your galaxy because she dreamed of visiting them all one day. She wasn't an incident. She was a child, and you killed her. Nexlar watched the council members shift uncomfortably. They weren't used to being interrupted, weren't used to dealing with species that didn't show proper deference. But humanity had never received the memo about galactic diplomatic protocols. Let me explain how this is going to work, Catherine continued. Right now, Earth ships are systematically dismantling your defense network. Not destroying, dismantling. We're doing this to demonstrate 2 things. First, that we can. Second, that we're choosing not to kill. The tactical display updated, showing new data. The humans weren't using conventional weapons. They had developed technology that simply stopped things from working. Ships, stations, weapons all rendered inert without harming the occupants. Impossible, one council member shouted. Their technology was primitive months ago. No, Nexlar corrected. We assumed their technology was primitive because that's what they showed us. Everything we knew about humanity came from what they wanted us to see. As if proving his point, new signals appeared on the display. Human ships were decloaking throughout the galaxy, revealing that they had already penetrated the most secure galactic sectors. The Council watched in horror as vessels larger than anything humanity should have been able to build revealed themselves near critical military installations. The Amanda Brooks isn't just our flagship, Catherine explained, allowing herself a small smile. It's a prototype. What you're seeing now is the full Brooks-class fleet. 50 ships, each named for a child lost to war, disease, or accident on Earth. We built them as a reminder that every child's death diminishes us all. The tactical officer's console erupted with alerts. High Speaker, we're detecting energy signatures everywhere. The humans have seeded our entire territory with some kind of devices. Quantum network nodes, Catherine supplied helpfully. We placed them while you were busy watching our decoy ships. Right now they're networked with every piece of galactic technology in range. With a single command, we could shut down your entire civilization. The council chamber descended into chaos. Species that had never shown fear were trembling. Races known for their military prowess were backing away from the displays. But we're not going to do that, Catherine's voice cut through the panic. Because humanity's response to your action will be measured and precise. We're going to dismantle the system that allowed a child to be killed in the name of scientific curiosity. We're going to restructure your council. And we're going to make sure that every spacefaring race remembers what happens when you harm a human child. Nexlar stepped forward. Ambassador Brooks, if I may. Your technological advancement is unprecedented. How did you achieve this? Catherine's expression softened slightly. Commander Nexlar, your warning to the Council about us was quite accurate, but you missed one crucial detail about humanity. We advance fastest when we're angry. Your people killed my daughter, and in doing so you gave 6 billion humans a single, focused purpose. Do you know what we call that on Earth? The chamber fell silent, waiting. A mistake, she answered. A terrible, terrible mistake. New alerts sounded. The quantum network was spreading, rendering useless every weapon in galactic space. Ships were being locked down, defense systems disabled, centuries of military superiority undone in minutes. We could have been friends, Catherine said, her voice carrying genuine regret. We could have shared knowledge, explored the stars together. Amanda would have loved that. Instead, we have to be the monsters you feared, not because we want to be, but because you gave us no choice. The display showed more human ships appearing, each bearing the name of a lost child, each carrying the message that humanity's response to violence would be swift, overwhelming, and laser-focused. Your civilization stands because we choose to show restraint, Catherine concluded. Remember that. Remember her. Remember that humanity will cross the gulf between stars, unravel the laws of physics, and reshape reality itself to protect our children. This is your lesson. Class dismissed. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Next, Lar looked at the tactical display, at the elegant web of quantum nodes that had already rendered the galaxy's most powerful civilization defenseless, and understood finally what his initial report had missed. Humanity hadn't just been waiting for first contact, they had been preparing for it. Every science fiction story, every space opera, every tale of alien invasion had been a training exercise. And when the moment came when their worst fears were realized, they didn't just rise to the occasion. They transcended it. The Grand Council chamber had never felt so small. Next, Lar watched as representatives from every major species in known space argued, threatened, and pleaded with each other. The humans' message had arrived 6 hours ago, and the galaxy's leadership still couldn't agree on how to respond. "We cannot submit to their demands," High Speaker Ralthon's voice boomed across the chamber. "We are the Galactic Council. We have guided civilization for 10,000 cycles." And in one day, Nexlar countered, "The humans demonstrated that our guidance means nothing. They could have destroyed us. Instead, they chose to send this." He activated the central display, replaying the message that had thrown the galaxy into chaos. The hologram showed a simple classroom on Earth. Children of various ages sat at their desks, while Catherine Brooks stood at the front. Behind her, a star map showed the known galaxy, with Earth marked in pulsing red. "Greetings, citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice carrying the weight of a mother's grief and a planet's resolve. "Today's lesson is about consequences. On my desk is a button, one press, and every piece of advanced technology in your civilization stops working. Permanently." The council members shifted uncomfortably, knowing the threat was no bluff. The humans had already proven their capability. "But that's not what's going to happen," Catherine continued, "because humanity believes in teaching, not punishment. So here are our terms." Next, Lar watched his fellow council members' reactions as the terms were listed again. Some bristled at the audacity, others showed signs of relief at their relative mercy. "First," Catherine's voice rang out, "every species will send their brightest young minds to Earth for education. Not as hostages, but as students. They will learn alongside human children, understanding our culture, our values, and most importantly, why we respond to threats against our young with such overwhelming force." The display shifted to show the newly established Earth Education Initiative massive learning centers being constructed around the planet, ready to receive students from across the galaxy. Second, Earth will assume oversight of all scientific research involving sentient beings. The practices that led to my daughter's death end today. We will establish ethical guidelines that protect all species, not just the technologically advanced ones. Several council members who had profited from questionable research practices slumped in their seats. Third, and most importantly, we're going to restructure the Galactic Council itself. Earth doesn't want to rule the galaxy. We want to ensure that no other parent ever experiences what I did. The new council will operate on principles of equality, representation, and absolute protection of the innocent. Security Officer Telvor, now serving as head of the council's defensive forces, stepped forward. "Commander Next Lar, the humans' demands are surprisingly reasonable. Why are we even debating this?" "Because," Telvor Next Lar replied, "accepting means admitting that everything we believed about our superiority was wrong. Some would rather see the galaxy burn than accept that." As if on cue, Councillor Baxthar rose from his seat. "This is preposterous. These humans are barbarians. They threaten us with destruction while claiming moral superiority. I say we call their bluff. They cannot possibly maintain control over their quantum network indefinitely." The chamber fell silent as a new hologram appeared. Catherine Brooks again, but this time it was a live transmission. "Councillor Baxthar," she said pleasantly, "thank you for the perfect teaching opportunity. Your personal transport just lost all power. Don't worry, the life support systems are fine. But you might find walking home from the Centauri sector educational." Baxthar's face changed colors rapidly as reports confirmed his ship had indeed gone dead in space. "That was a warning tap," Catherine continued. "The next person who tests our resolve will find their entire world's technology reversed to pre-industrial levels. We can do this surgically, individual by individual, planet by planet. We don't want to, but make no mistake, we will." The display shifted to show Earth's new defense fleet, each ship named for a lost child, each capable of enforcing humanity's will across vast distances instantly. "You're not dealing with politicians anymore," Catherine explained. "You're dealing with parents. Every human on Earth sees Amanda as their child. Every child in the galaxy is now under our protection. This isn't a negotiation, it's a notification." Nextlar watched the council members' reactions. The smarter ones showed acceptance, even relief. The others, well, they would learn, or they would find themselves leading their civilizations with stone tools. Commander Catherine addressed him directly. "You tried to warn them about us. Now help them understand. Explain what humanity does when pushed too far." Nextlar stepped to the center of the chamber, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. The humans have a concept in their military training: proportional response. They believe the punishment should fit the crime. We killed a child, so they dismantled our defenses. We threatened their species, so they seized control of our technology. But they didn't kill. They didn't destroy. They did something far more terrifying. They took responsibility for us. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions: shock, outrage, understanding, fear. But underneath it all was a growing realization the galaxy had fundamentally changed. "The humans have a saying," Nextlar continued. "They say the true measure of a civilization is how it treats its most vulnerable members. We failed that test. They're giving us a chance to learn from that failure. I suggest we take it." One by one, the council members began to signal their acceptance. Not out of fear, though there was plenty of that, but out of a dawning understanding that humanity wasn't just enforcing its will, it was offering a chance at something better. The message was clear: the galaxy could evolve, or it could regress. The choice was theirs, but the consequences would be humanity's to enforce. And somewhere in that message was a deeper truth that made Nextlar's antennae twitch. Humanity hadn't just survived first contact, they had been waiting for it, preparing for it, ready to either embrace new friends or become the monsters they had always imagined lurking among the stars. They had chosen to become both. The day of reckoning arrived with a whisper, not a bang. Nextlar stood aboard the observation deck of the new Galactic Council station, watching as the combined rebel fleet of dissenting worlds assembled. Some species just couldn't accept the new order, couldn't bear the thought of humans reshaping their carefully controlled galaxy. "Status report," he commanded, his 4 eyes fixed on the massive fleet before them. "Rebel fleet numbers at 6,000 vessels," Commander Security Officer Telvor reported. "They've gathered forces from 17 systems that reject Earth's terms. Their leaders demand we restore the old council or face immediate attack." Nextlar noticed his junior officers trying to hide their anxiety. The rebel fleet was the largest military gathering in galactic history. Under normal circumstances, it would have been an overwhelming force. But circumstances were far from normal. "Any response from Earth?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "Yes, Commander. Just one word: watch." The main display activated, showing Catherine Brooks standing in what appeared to be a classroom. Behind her, a wall displayed thousands of photographs, every child lost to war, disease, or accident in human history. At the center was Amanda's picture. "Today's lesson," she addressed the rebel fleet directly, "is about hubris. Your fleet is impressive. In the old galaxy, it would have meant something. But you still don't understand what you're dealing with." The rebel command channel erupted with threats and demands. Catherine waited patiently for them to finish, then smiled, the kind of smile that made Nextlar's antennae curl in anticipation. "You see those ships you're so proud of?" she continued. "Let me show you something interesting about them." She raised a simple tablet computer. With one tap, every rebel ship suddenly projected a hologram above it. Each hologram showed a human child laughing, playing, dreaming. "Every ship in your fleet," Catherine explained, "has been gradually transformed by our quantum network. The same technology you use to power your weapons has been repurposed. Your vessels are no longer instruments of war. They're now memorials." The rebel commanders watched in horror as their mighty warships transformed. Weapons systems converted themselves into education centers. Barracks became libraries. Military computers now housed the complete history of human childhood. "You gathered 6,000 ships to intimidate us." Catherine's voice carried notes of both sadness and steel. "We turned them into 6,000 schools. each one dedicated to a child lost to violence. This is how humanity wages war now. We don't destroy, we transform. Nexlar watched as the rebel fleet tried desperately to regain control of their ships. But the transformation was complete and irreversible. The humans hadn't just defeated them, they had repurposed them. But that's not the real lesson, Catherine continued. Look at your sensor readings. Look at what's really around you. The rebels did, and what they saw made hardened warriors tremble. Their sensors revealed thousands of human vessels that had been there all along, completely undetectable until this moment. The Amanda Brooks led the fleet, its hull gleaming with a technology that defied analysis. We could have destroyed you, Catherine said quietly. Instead, we're going to teach you. Every ship in your fleet is now a testament to what we lost and what we're fighting to prevent. Your soldiers will become students. Your weapons will become tools of learning. Your military might will serve peace. The rebel leaders, watching their fleet transform before their eyes, finally understood. They hadn't just underestimated human technology, they had fundamentally misunderstood human nature. The new Galactic Council begins today, Catherine announced. Its first act will be to establish the Amanda Brooks Protocol, a set of laws ensuring that every child of every species has the right to grow up free from fear, free from violence, and free to dream of the stars. Nexlar watched as the former rebel ships, now transformed into centers of learning, began broadcasting their new mission. Each vessel bore the name and story of a child lost too soon, ensuring that their memories would travel among the stars forever. Your choice was never between fighting and surrendering, Catherine concluded. It was between growing and stagnating, between learning and repeating old mistakes. We chose to make you part of the solution. The new Council Station's systems came alive, displaying the first draft of the Amanda Brooks Protocol. It was a document unprecedented in galactic history, a constitution that put the protection of the innocent above all else. Fellow Commander Nexlar, Catherine addressed him directly. You once warned them about humanity. Tell me, did you ever imagine this would be how we changed the galaxy? Nexlar looked at the transformed fleet, at the new council forming, at the birth of an era where weapons became tools of peace. No, Ambassador Brooks. I warned them that humanity would be dangerous. I never imagined you would be dangerous in such a magnificent way. The rebel leaders, their military might transformed into an enduring memorial to peace, had no choice but to accept the new reality. Humanity had won not through destruction, but through transformation. They had taken an act of violence against one child and turned it into protection for all children. The galaxy would never be the same. And that, Nexlar realized, was exactly what humanity had intended all along. 10 cycles had passed since the transformation of the galaxy. Commander Nexlar, now serving as chief historian of the new Galactic Council, sat in his office aboard the Amanda Brooks Memorial Station, preparing his final report before retirement. The walls of his office were covered with images from Earth, children of all species playing together in the grand parks of the unified galaxy. Above his desk hung a simple hologram, Amanda Brooks reaching for the stars, forever frozen in that moment of pure wonder and possibility. Recording final historical entry, he spoke to his computer. Subject: the human lesson, a decade of change. He paused, gathering his thoughts before continuing. When we first encountered humanity, we thought we understood power. We had weapons that could shatter planets, ships that could bend space, technology that had taken thousands of cycles to perfect. We were wrong. The humans taught us that true power lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice to transform. Through his window, he watched as ships from across the galaxy docked at the station. Each bore the name of a child, each served as a combination of school, library, and memorial. The humans had kept their word. They hadn't destroyed the old order, they had transformed it into something greater. The Amanda Brooks Protocol has redefined civilization itself. Under human guidance, we've achieved advances that our best scientists had considered impossible. But more importantly, we've learned to measure progress not in technological achievements, but in the laughter of children. He touched a control, bringing up statistics that still amazed him. Child mortality across all species had dropped to near zero. Wars had become obsolete not through force, but through understanding. The humans had somehow managed to make peace more profitable than conflict. And to any civilization that might discover this record in the future, heed this warning: humanity's greatest strength isn't their technology, their adaptability, or even their unity in the face of threats. It's their capacity to turn grief into growth, loss into legacy, and enemies into students. Next, Lar walked to his window, watching as a group of young aliens followed their human teacher through the station's educational center. The teacher was Catherine Brooks herself, who had dedicated her life to ensuring no other parent would experience her loss. The humans have a saying: the best revenge is living well. They proved it by responding to an act of cruelty not with matching violence, but with overwhelming progress. They could have destroyed us. Instead, they chose to teach us. He thought back to that first observation of Earth, how wrong they had been about humanity's potential. We thought they were primitive because they fought among themselves. We didn't understand that those conflicts had taught them the true price of violence. We saw their divisions as weakness, not realizing that their differences made them stronger. We dismissed their stories of aliens and space warfare as primitive entertainment, never guessing they were preparation. A notification blinked on his screen. Another 1,000 graduates from Earth's Galactic Education Program were ready to take their places as teachers, scientists, and leaders. Perhaps most remarkably, humanity never sought to rule the galaxy. They became its teachers instead. Every ship in their fleet is a school. Every station is a library. Every encounter is a chance to learn. They turned their pain into purpose, their loss into legacy. He brought up the image of the transformed rebel fleet, now a permanent memorial orbiting Earth. The humans have a tradition of turning battlefields into memorial parks, weapons into artwork, places of death into celebrations of life. They did the same to our entire civilization, and we are better for it. Next, La touched the small pendant he wore, a gift from Catherine Brooks. It contained a tiny hologram of Amanda, along with the words that had become the motto of the new council for all our children. Final notation: the day we killed one human child, we thought we were dealing with a primitive species. We were right, but not in the way we imagined. They were primitive in the way a force of nature is primitive, fundamental, unstoppable, essential. We thought we were studying them. Instead, they taught us what civilization could be. He looked one last time at the bustling station, at the mingling of species that would have been impossible just 10 cycles ago. End report with the traditional human classroom dismissal that has become our council's closing words: class dismissed. The lesson will continue tomorrow. Next, La shut down his computer and prepared to leave his office for the last time. As he reached the door, he heard the sound of children laughing, human, alien, all of them together. In that laughter was the real lesson humanity had taught the galaxy. The strongest response to darkness isn't more darkness, it's teaching others to create light.